Welcome to another episode of the Everyday Game Changers podcast. I'm your host, Barion McQueen, and you know how we do each and every week, talking to game changers in business, music, community, and more. And today's guest, we could add, we gonna say business, but I want him to break down the difference, what he do, man. I got Moneybag Rich in the building. How are you?
Yo.
Woo! Moneybag Rich in the building. Appreciate you. What's up?
You, man. Damn, I'm finally on Everyday Game Changers. You know, I ain't talked to my mom since 2018, but mom made it.
There you go. You ain't talked to your mom since when?
2018.
Oh, that's a whole. You want to start right there?
I mean, it wasn't even a start, but I mean, if you want me to.
What's going on? Talk to me.
I mean, hey, you know, so you want me to introduce myself first?
Introduce yourself, and then let's get right into that, man. Rich is a business mindset coach, man. Give him some perspective on that, though.
Absolutely. So I'm a business mindset coach, and basically what I do is I go in and I help brands become your favorite brands. That's my tagline. And so we work on the foundational beliefs, we work on the behavioral patterns, and we work on systems that just make the business flow with or without the CEO present.
No, you ain't talked to your mom since 2018.
I ain't talked to her since 2018.
Y'all beefing? What?
Yeah, we big beefing. You know what I'm saying? Big beefing.
What?
Big beefing.
I feel like literally, like, if it's been like 2 weeks, I'm like, man, you know what? I got to hit my mom up. It's been some time past.
You know, and I used to be like that after a certain while, but, you know, I got kicked out the crib when I was 16. And she left New York. I'm from New York. And so she left New York and went to Atlanta. But I was a bad influence. You know, she's not wrong for that. You know, does she have to be as extreme? Probably not. But, you know, just growing up with my sisters, she had finally had my twin little sisters. And she was like, man, you too rough, you too bad. I was fighting all the time. I was getting into trouble in the streets, and I got expelled from high school. That was the last straw from her in 11th grade. And she was like, I don't know what to do with you. I don't want you to influence your sisters like this. And so we're going to go to Atlanta because it's a bad community anyway, but you got to figure out what you're going to do next. And she left me in New York.
Wow. I moved out at 17.
See?
So that's interesting. I didn't move out for that reason. I moved out because my mom was super religious, and I was about to get my first record deal as a rapper. So it was just like, when it comes to the music, I didn't get no support from my mom doing music because it was worldly music, or it was just like, nah, you doing that, you know, the devil got a hold of you.
You know, now that you say that, it might be a little bit of that too, because my mom, that whole side of my family, 7-day Adventist. And so no piercings, no tattoos, no earrings, no nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you couldn't go out on Friday night because the Sabbath was the next day. Like, all of that type. And I was rebellious. So
yeah. So for me, my mom came home one day and my boxes was packed at the bottom of the steps. She like, what you doing? I'm like, I'm out. She like, stop playing and get, you know what I mean? I'm like, nah. You told me if I don't abide by your rules, get out. And I never went back ever since, bro. 17, I was out of there. I went to college, stayed in the dorms for like a year just to get a little college experience, and then I left. And then me and my homies just start renting townhouses, bachelor pads, like. But I refused to go back home. Like, so even as an adult, I can't really listen to people's excuses. I'm like, yo, I figured it out at 17. I was at college full-time at University of Delaware for civil engineering, the hardest classes ever, and still had 3 jobs, bro. I was working at the skating rink. I was cleaning buildings at night. And I had my little engineering job during the day. And I'm like, man, it ain't no excuse nobody could give me, because I just refused to go live back at my mom's, ask people for money. I'm just going to have to figure it out. So that's crazy. 16.
Yeah, I wish I had that kind of drive. Cause I definitely didn't have them jobs, you know, but I was out in the streets.
Yeah.
And I just figured it out a different type of way.
Do you feel like, I don't talk on this subject enough, do you feel like the streets prepared you for business?
Absolutely. This is just business on this type of level is just organized gangship. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And even the military, because I dealt with that too, the Marine Corps. Like, you just realize as you grow up, like, man, the streets are not that far from just organized gang activity. In the streets, they're just a lot more raw, and it's no reason. You know, in business, you might still meet somebody that'll do something for no reason, but it's a lot more targeted and just actual business.
I tell people, like, just even being in the music business, I'm like, a lot of the stuff I do in regular business, this still street. It's still street. It's the same people you gotta look out for. Yep. It's just bigger money involved now, and it's like facts. You in them right circles. This is corner stuff.
And that paperwork, that's what it gets you.
That's it.
They'll put it in the paperwork because they know you're not gonna read it, and you're not gonna pay for an attorney to go through it, and
that's the difference hit you right with the
there. Paperwork, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, well, it was right here. We told you,
that's
and you
the
did
difference.
It anyway."
Is business in the streets? The difference is the paperwork. 100%. So somebody in your space, like as a business mindset coach, you hear business coaching, right? Then you hear mindset coaching. How do you merge those two and why?
So with business coaching, I actually started off business coaching. And with business coaching, people expected me to just get paid money, and it was more upfront, but they wanted me to automate everything. And so that was the entire opposite of my essence. I didn't want to invest a whole lot of time into whatever. You know, my own businesses were kind of being put with contractor systems and on autopilot. And so me making the money from business coaching, I was like, yeah, you know, it's coming in, but now I got to only figure out their business, and then I got to automate it, and then I got to be on top of it and everything. And that wasn't even what really took me out of it. It was I helped two of my boys makes a good amount of money per month. Like I added like maybe 20, 30,000 onto their stuff per month. And as soon as I stopped, our thing ended because they only got the package for a year, you know, the one-on-one thing for a year with me. And within like 4 months, they went back to the same. And I think one actually ended up having to do a different company because it fell through. And I was like, damn, these my dogs. You know what I'm saying? Like, what happened? And then I realized that they had no idea what I did to set up their businesses to do that. And so when they started facing problems, when they started, you know, getting, you know, hiccups in the systems and everything like that, they didn't know how to fix it. And so I was like, damn, I really don't want people to go through that, because then it could be a kickback to me. Because they were my dogs, they didn't do it that way, where they were like, oh, it's your fault, you know, whatever. But they also, it was definitely their fault. They weren't taking care of their business, because it shouldn't happen that way no matter what. But me teaching them, like, you know, teaching people, hey, these are the steps to doing that. That's what I do with mindset coaching. And so mindset is all about how you think about things, how you go into things. And so in me doing that, it was more of a process of me teaching people. I spent less time. I might take less up front because it's only 1 hour on 4 sessions a month. Right. And so I'll go in there and I'll teach them principles of things. And so I'm not necessarily doing it for them, but I'm teaching them how to do a set of systems in order to replicate whatever they want and whatever business they want. Yeah. And so if they forget the systems, it's like, hey, I taught you how to keep this up. I taught you how to look for these things. I taught you how to understand your targeting for ads, how to do this and that and whatever. You have to do it though.
So what's Young Rich doing? Like what puts you in this? Like, people think my story is like, yo, Barion always hustled, know how to get some money, but it's just like, nah, not really. Wasn't really my story. My mom was a single mom. So if I wanted Jordans and anything extra outside of the basics, I had to figure it out. So I need to sweep hair at the barbershop, whatever the case may be. What's Young Rich doing?
How young we talking?
I'm talking like elementary. What's Rich doing?
Honestly, I really wasn't doing a whole lot. It was when I really entered like high school, where in New York, you already know, like, the vernacular and how they cut your ass for not doing, you know, or not being present, and just the jokes in general is ruthless. And so she used to buy me these pants, you know, and them shits was high water, man. And so I went to school and they was cutting me up, and I said, absolutely not. And she was like, all right, well, you want different stuff, go get it yourself. And so that's where I was really like, I bet, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna go get it how I gotta get it. And so it came in the wrong way, but, you know, I was robbing stuff from the mall, reselling it, you know, and the main spot that I would go to was GameStop. Because in GameStop, I realized that the employees were lazy and everything like that, and especially when they got like late shifts and everything. And for a while, you could go in there, and certain cases, they would put back with the CD in it, with the game in it. and I take the CD or whatever and resell it. And so
Wow.
that's how I started making some money up front. But then we used to just do, little lawn stuff. I tried the lawn stuff, did like 2 lawns. I said, hell no, this is crazy. I don't know how anybody does this,
Yeah.
But when it came to snowing time, shoveling wasn't that bad. You shovel and you put a little bit of salt on it, it's okay. And so I actually did that. But that turned into, I didn't really want to do the work for it. And so I started buying shovels with the money that I was making from the GameStop stuff. And people just came on the team. They're like, yo, you got this? I was like, yo, I got the salt. I got the shovels. I got all of this. I said, hey, listen, these houses said I could come and do this whenever it piles up or whatever. And I said, hey, listen, that's where I got my first idea from percents from. And so I said, I'm going to just take, a cut of that. I didn't call it a percent at the time, but I said, I'm going to take a percent of that. And so that's what I did as young Rich.
Wow. So you've been doing the contractor thing.
Yeah, apparently. I ain't call it that back then, but yeah.
Nah, so my first gig, it was stealing too. I was stealing bikes. So I was stealing bikes in the neighborhood. I would strip down. I would steal your bike. I would steal his bike. I would strip them down and make new bikes, spray paint them and resell them like it's new. And I was making it like people was getting them custom. I'm like, yo, what color you want? Like, and it's just spray paint. It's like, yo, you want the pegs on the front? This was we was doing. What was them bikes called? Oh man, dynos. I think it was a dyno bike, but man. And then one day, man, my grandma found all the parts under the deck is what I was hiding in. They like, what's going on here? I'm like, oh man, I'm into the bike thing. They like, yeah, where you get all of these bikes? And then I'm like, man, that's when I started sweeping hair. I had to get legit. Start sweeping hair at the barbershop. So our stories are similar from a young age delegating. For your businesses now, like how important is like, because I know you big like with the contractor thing, right? Like, what's the benefit to that route?
And so that route is what enables true time freedom. And so people be like, yo, how do you do so much and have so much time to go to all these events and still be present and still watch TV and still play a game and still do whatever and all of that stuff? And I'm like, man, you got to understand, name me a big company that doesn't have people working for them. Name one. And they were like, oh, well, some people try to get cheeky with it and name like, software type stuff or whatever. And I was like, that's different. I said, look at Walmart, look at McDonald's, look at Amazon, look at whoever. I said, it's the time leverage that happens. Yeah. And so in that time leverage, no matter how much work I do, I can only do 24 hours in a day.
Right.
And so with the amount of contractors I have in just one company right now, I could do 2,449 hours. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and so it's like, okay, cool. I've learned to, leverage my time. And in that time, I have them doing what I would normally do. And I just take a pay cut. And so at first, it definitely hurts because I only take 18%. And so me taking 18% is not a lot when you only have one other person. Right. It's not a lot when you only have 2 other people. But then eventually I got 5. Yeah. And then eventually that turned into 20. And then it turned into 30 and 40. And so now if you do the math per week, 18% from these people, even if it's a small job, this is a production company. So photography and videography, if they just shot each person something for like $200 a week, take 18% of that, you do the math for 54 people. Yeah. That's still a decent amount of bread coming in that I didn't have to make money from. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I was somewhere earlier today and I got 3 payments that equaled up to like $7,000. I have no idea what they did. You know what I'm saying? But it comes through the bank account, and I know automatically. Okay, cool. I'm gonna take that 18%. So for me, sitting while I was putting on a new client that I got for business coaching, I got paid from that. Yeah. And so my whole life is just structured around that. It's like, okay, cool. I have somewhat of a recession-proof business because no matter what happens to me, I now don't have to teach my child. I don't have kids right now, but I don't have to teach my kid how to do what I do because they're all on paperwork already. They're all set up. They're all everything. There's a default that if I do die, God forbid, like somebody has the passwords to everything and they can get in and they can do whatever they need to do. I have an attorney, all of that stuff. And so it's like, okay, cool. I could really pass this on and it just be money
Yeah.
that person gets. And so that's what really excited me to just making a process towards things like, okay, I get my time back.
Yeah. How do you get even involved in like the video production thing in general? Like, how do you say, you know what, I'm going to start my own production company?
So I was going to FAU at the time and the military. I just got out the Marine Corps not too long ago, and I found out that they had this thing called a GI Bill, where weirdly enough, you know, for a bachelor's it's 4 years, right?
Yeah.
These dudes only pay for 3.5. Why would you only pay for 3.5? But anyway, they pay for you to go to school, literally. And so I was getting like $2,600 a month just to go to school. And I didn't care about school at all, but I wanted that upfront money. And so I was like, hey, I'm gonna just go in an arts degree. And so I just went for an arts degree, and I lasted like 3 years. I didn't even finish the other half of that, whatever. But in me doing that, you know, we took acting classes and all of that type of stuff, and I started to like it to a point, and I was like, okay, cool. I got booked as an extra for this Rick Ross music video with like it was doing a feature, and so he was basically helping out one of the local people, TX, by the way. You can still see that video on YouTube, you know, and I'm running around for like 6 hours, like sweating my ass off doing all of this for $250, bro. And the camera crew was like a 6-man camera crew chilling. Dre Films. He's like, yeah, I'm one of the main videographers for Ross and this and that and everything. And I was like, yeah, bro, but you look real chill right now, bro. I'm outside dying. If y'all know this Florida heat, I'm outside dying. And I'm like, if you don't mind, how much you making? Because you seem real relaxed right now.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, you know, this is a small video. It's nothing crazy, whatever. I said, bro, how much are you making? He was like, $27,000. I said,
wow, for a small video.
$27,000 for 6 hours? Wow. And I'm only making $250 for running around and just, so hold on, I'm on the wrong side of the camera, which led me to my classmate. And so a videography class comes up in the curriculum, and I meet this guy named Dan. You know, Big Dan Hype. You know what I'm saying?
This is how y'all met?
This is how we met.
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm glad I had you here. Okay, talk to me about this.
This is how we met. And we sat right next to each other. Dan was being funny. I was being funny. And so it just naturally attracted. We was cutting some girl in the class ass on the first day.
Wow.
And we were like, man, you know, we just connected and whatnot. And so something like the teacher was going over something and was like, hey, you know, who has a camera and who has this, who has that already? And I found out Dan had a camera.
Oh, snap.
And so I was like, yo, what are you doing with that camera? He was like, I don't really use it that much. It's just be in my closet. I said, it be in your closet? I said, you know, people getting paid for this, man. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I haven't really gotten bookings, anything like that. Like, I got it as a gift or whatever. And he was like, yeah, I don't really use it. I was like, okay, so, well, if I get clients for you, can we use your camera?
Wow.
And so he was like, yeah, absolutely. He was like, but have you ever got clients in this? I said, no, but it don't matter. I could get it. And that's what I did. I got 10 clients in the first month, and we shot. And then I made enough to buy my own camera, my own starter camera. It was a Nikon.
Wow.
Nikon, a crop sensor Nikon D5600.
I know my audience probably don't know, y'all don't know y'all camera stuff, but I started on the Canon T6i Rebel entry level. Like,
that's about the same entry level
sensor,
on a Nikon.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And so now we both had 2 cameras, and so I just started doing the photography thing from there. We got more bookings, and then that turned into prime lenses. And those prime lenses turned into additional cameras because we started taking more portrait shots now. And then I started doing YouTube University, all of that stuff, and I started buying courses and everything. And it was Piximperfect, who I used to watch all the time.
Piximperfect.
And that dude was snapping. Wow. You know what I'm saying? And so I used to learn the little stuff here and there, and then I started getting pretty decent with it. Anything that I really focus my mind onto, I feel like I have the ability to do it. And so I was like, yeah, I like this. And so it was actually Tony Visions who we went, and I had hit him up because I saw him doing Runway Gotham, and I was like, yo, they got models there. Like, yo, Dan, let's go pop up. Even if it's not paid, like, let's go get some exposure or whatever. Fire. And so he added us to the media crew, and we did pictures, and he was like, yo, I like y'all vibe, man. Like, whatever, you know, come back and do my next event. And so we went to go do the next event for him, and he was like, yo, I need video. I was like, oh, we only take pictures, bro. He was like,
Oh,
yeah,
snap.
but I need video. And I was like, we only take pictures. He was like, so you telling me you can't turn that into a video camera? I was like, yeah, we could, but whatever. And that was our first video ever on the actual runway, doing all of that stuff, making a recap for him. And Tony Visions was the reason why we started video. And so then we started doing little model videos. And from there, we started linking up with different people. Then we met Ronald Wayne, and Ronald Wayne started talking to us about stuff. And so then I bought a Sony. Then Dan bought a Sony. And then the rest is history from there. And then I started understanding, like, okay, cool. I have this model in my head, but I'm working hard as hell. Like, I'm doing everything and I'm going crazy, and I'm adding people onto our stuff. We locked our first contract in with Afro Code, and I said, yo, basically was treating it like Blue Magic from the movies. I was like, yo, if I drop my prices down, I need to make a contract with you where I want you to book us every single month.
Yeah.
And so he was like, those are some cheap ass prices. And I was like, it's cool. We could do it.
You care
And
about
so
the
I
volume.
made that exactly. And so we had constant volume. And so I said, okay, cool. He's willing to do that. And so I just started doing that with all the people. I was like, yo, we'll drop the prices down and lock us in our contract. And so now I had added stability to an industry where you don't know when you're going to get your next shoot. And so I was like, yeah,
so
I
it
like
forced
this.
them to have to shoot because they going to have to pay. They better come up with something.
And I got ahead of myself and I started getting too many gigs but I had these contracts with these people, so we couldn't not shoot for them. And so I was like, yo, we need more people. So that's when I started adding more people to the mix, and the company just grew from there.
What's your process like? Damn, we got something here. We gotta think of a name, and I gotta make a business and all of this. Like, what's that process like?
ROV went through 4 name changes. We started off as Visions of Iris. Yeah. Then we went to Future Legends International. Then we went to like Flick Kings. And then I randomly ended up on Ranger View. And so it was 4 different names, 4 different logos. And then the original logo for ROV, we're on our 4th logo now.
Wow.
Yeah, so we started off with like this little box with like a camera in it. And then it went to like a cartoony kind of one with a thumbs up because we wanted people to like our post.
Yeah.
And then we went to another one that was like more for a social media kind of vibe. Like it wasn't cartoony, but it was more so like anime invitey. And then we ended up with the script because I said, yo, we need bigger contracts. I said, I want to do something like corporate, like a corporate person wouldn't mind seeing that. And all of them have like script stuff and, the calligraphy names. And so I said, okay, let's do the ROV name and script. And so I had really started diving more into like the business psychology of things because I'm like, if I want to do better, I got to understand how these people think.
Right.
And so I started really just developing that. And I was like, we have to add a sound to the name. And so I was like, if you hear like certain commercials, you know exactly what it is. I was like, when our video starts, if people aren't really listening or watching, they're going to hear that sound. It's almost like the lighter flick with Lil Wayne. Right. You know something crazy about to happen. And so we had this sword, and it was like the unsheathing of a sword, and it goes, whoosh, and we just started putting it in the beginning of the videos, and people would come up to us like, yo, the moment I hear this sword sound, I know it's an ROV flick, whether I see the logo or not.
Like a beat
and I was
tag,
like, that's exactly what I wanted.
That's fire.
Yeah. And so we actually got a big corporate client off of that because shout out to my guy Ruts. He couldn't make it to them. And by the time I went to them, PCG, now they give us a loan probably like 120, 125 a year by themselves. Wow. And she was like, yeah, you have a nice like tagline, you have a nice this and that, and it's very memorable, and I feel like you would help us with our content. And so they got us into Hard Rock, which got us partnership with Denny's, which got us Bacardi, which got us South by Southwest, which got us 100 Black Men of America, which got us Pfizer, which got us the Orange Blossom Classic, you know what I'm saying? Wow. And so just from that one company, we started branching out. And so as we started posting all of these names, other people wanted to come on. We did a documentary with Emilio Estefan. We did National Black Farmers Association in Virginia, where it was John Boyd, and he rode a white horse, black guy, rode a white horse in front of the White House to go protest for money that they owed the black farmers. We did the whole documentary for that.
Fire.
And they were supposed to pay them $4 billion in reparations. And so he brought out the whole community army and everything for that, made the news. We got on Vibe, we got on Forbes, we got on Elements, and like authentic posts because it was our clients that got on there, but they had submitted our names to get tagged in it too. It wasn't like that little, what's it called? This thing that you can submit to and everybody think they made it in a magazine.
The little sponsored post?
Nah, it's called
Voyage?
Nah, it's called I don't know, but it's a subscription you could pay for per month. And they're like, oh, we'll get you into these 10 magazines or whatever. You never heard of that?
Now you got me curious.
That's how people be ending up in some of these magazines because they paid a subscription. And I'm like, yeah, but y'all paid to play. Like, of course you're gonna end up in a magazine, but the psychology of people paying for something and then thinking they made it into it from something, I'm like, y'all are ridiculous. Like,
that's crazy.
You paid for that.
So I know a story that most people don't know about you. Well, not even about you, but about an interaction that you had with somebody that's very well known, that has a voice that everybody knows when they hear it. Tell them about this Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, so that same company that I was talking about, PCG, they had this building where you got to go do like paperwork, and it was one of our first like real onboardings with them and everything. So we had to go there, and it's like this celebrity building, and in this building, it's like a lot of celebrity profile traffic goes through there, and so they got mad security in the front. You got to go through like 2 different metal detectors. I was like, damn, this is like an airport. I said, what happens in this building? She was like, oh, a lot of celebrities come through here all the time and everything, blah, blah. But, you know, once you get through, like, it's chill. People have different stuff or whatever. And so we go down the hall. I'm still on the first floor, you know, by the elevators. And I go through the door. I'm just talking to the lady. And I'm like, yeah, yo, this is a nice building. You know, you guys got. I'm not in Miami a lot. I live in Fort Lauderdale. So she was like, yeah, the building's all right. But the traffic that comes through here, it's a lot of celebs and whatnot. And she's like, yeah, you know, there's Morgan Freeman right now. And the way she said it so casual, I look back and I'm like,
it is Morgan.
That's Morgan Freeman. Like, it just in the flesh, he's in person chilling. And I'm like, oh, damn. Like, you know, I ain't want to geek out because I'm the type of guy, like, I done been around a lot of celebrities, but I don't have no pictures with them. Like, I never asked for them, no nothing, because I try to play it cool. Yeah. But I really wanted something from him. And so I just stood in the hallway by the door and I'm just posted up while she filling out the rest of the paperwork stuff. And then he looks down the hall, he looks at me, and he just nods. And I'm just like, what's up, man? Like, I just played it cool, man. And, you know, and eventually, because it was him, his manager, and somebody else, he walks over, and he's just like, what's up? I'm like, what's up, bro? Like, you know what I'm saying? I try to keep the same energy, like, you know. And he was like, oh, you know, what you got going on? And I was like, yeah, I'm just filling out paperwork. And we just started talking about me a little bit more. He was like, you know, what do? You seem pretty young. And I was like, yeah, I own a production company. He made a joke. He's like, oh, I know a thing or two about that. Yeah. And so I just started asking him for, like, you know, with dealing with top level actors and everything, like how to do certain things. And he was like, oh, you know, you want to do this and that. But I told him I didn't specialize in film, or more so like events and music videos maybe. He was like, it's all good. It's all connected. He was like, you meet the right person, you'll get in there. You know the basics for it. It's all the same. Wow. And so he just giving me a little bit of game. And Savage Mode 2 maybe came out at the time. Mm-hmm. And he did a voiceover for it. And so I was like, yo, how you end up doing a voiceover for 21? And he was like, bro, the misconceptions on that man is crazy. Like, 21 is super educated, got degrees, all that type of stuff. He was like, it's just the image that he has to portray and everything. Mm-hmm. But he was like, that's my dog. Like, I just did that. He was like, but for some other people, you know, whatever, like, the price is the price, and it's pretty hefty. You know, he didn't tell me the exact price, but he was like, yeah, it's up there. And so I shot my shot. And because we were already talking about it, and I was like, all right, so, you know, if somebody like me wanted it, like,
what a Morgan Freeman voiceover.
Yeah, like, how would that work out? And he just started laughing and everything. He was like, actually, that's what I'm here to go do. I'm here to go record some commercial stuff upstairs. And I said, oh, okay. He was like, yeah, you know. He was like, you know what, if you can give me a warm-up. He said, I'll use it as a warm-up. You know, just write something real quick. Went right in there. She had the little Post-its and just wrote whatever came down to my memory and just handed it to him. We talked for like 4 or 5 more minutes, and I already asked him for that, so I didn't want to be like, yo, let's take a picture. You know what I'm saying? And then his manager came over there, handed it to his manager, and his manager, got my information, got my email, and was like, we'll get it back to you in a few days. And in my head, I'm just like, damn, like, I just really tapped it on Morgan Freeman. And I know his manager said that, but I wasn't getting that type of like,
it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen vibe. And so in my head, I'm like, at least I got the interaction with him. You know what I'm saying? But sure enough, like 4 days later, got an email. Boom, voice note. And it was literally just a warm up. Like, you still had to get some of the stuff cleaned up on the end, but we do production. So just cleaned up the little whatever echo noises and stuff that he had in the back, and it was good.
That's crazy.
But I had my boy who's a composer. I let him hear it. I was like, yo, Giano, bro. I said, bro, you gotta put a composition on this for me, dog. And he made it from scratch. And so Giano, I haven't talked to him in a while. He got married and ran off into the distance in Cali somewhere. But Giano was headed for some big stuff. And I feel like if I still paired with him, my life would be different now, because Giano was, think about movies and composition. I don't really know any other composers, but you hear it in the movies. Of course. Giano was the young version of whatever that was, or whoever they were. And so he was already working for DreamWorks. He was already doing stuff for Lionsgate. He was already doing stuff for all of these people in the big productions. And I just happened to meet him by chance, and he was a super down-to-earth individual, and he was passionate about this stuff. And we ended up shooting a couple things for free from him. And so he was like, bro, whenever I could have, ever have help. And with PCG, that's how we ended up working with him, because we had Pfizer, the vaccine people, and we had to make the little commercial stuff for them. And so they wanted custom composition that couldn't be copyrightable or not everybody had access to, and they wanted a specific feeling to be invoked in order to push it more.
Fire.
And so we put him on, and they paid him like $600 per video to do it, and we did like 24 videos for them.
Well, so he was like, oh man, I owe y'all now.
Yeah, he was like, yo, this is clutch, whatever. And so we just talking. I'm like, bro, I need a composition for this Morgan Freeman thing. He was like, you met Morgan Freeman? I was like, bro, I didn't only meet Morgan Freeman, I got a voiceover from Morgan Freeman. So I let him hear it. He was like, dog.
Wow.
And he came up with the composition that's on the Morgan Freeman thing. And it is so crisp because it fits perfectly his voice and what he says. He made it that way on purpose. And this dude plays all the instruments that you hear in it, like live. Wow. And I was like, man, I appreciate you. And then he went to Cali like a few months after that.
I'm only giving y'all that. I know we here to talk business. We got Moneybag Rich in the building, but I knew that story and I wanted him to share that story on camera, because I know he's going to be on a lot of podcasts and nobody else is going to ask him that question.
Facts.
So what's the toughest part about dealing with clients in this business mindset space?
Their mindset sucks. And so even when you're trying to teach them mindset, they want to argue with you about habits that they have. And I'm like, you hired me to target your behavioral patterns, and it's all about the bigger picture. A lot of them have been doing things a certain way for a certain amount of time. And, even if it's older individuals, they'll see me as younger and they try to like sun me. They're like, I've been doing this for, this amount of time and, X and X, and they're really stuck in their ways. And if you know me, I'm a aggressive passive person, not a passive aggressive. I'm aggressive passive. And so I'm aggressive in the way of, I like to get things done. I like to move fast. I like to, have speed, and I like to have success. My name is Moneybag Rich. And so I'm aiming to get you to the bag. Yeah. And I want us to do that by any means necessary. I'll never tell anybody to do anything negative. I've never cheated anybody. I've never stole from anybody. None of that. My exes to this day, all of them still follow me on social media. You know what I'm saying? Like I've bought them LLCs and try to build their businesses for them, whether they do it or not, who knows? You know what I'm saying? But that's my personality type. Like, I genuinely love business. And so the hardest thing for people to do, especially when they get into business at a older age, depending on what profession it is, it's hard for them to let go and understand that we're in 2023. Whatever principles that you're having that you're trying to apply are not working, and there's a reason why you hire somebody like me. Yeah. And then they say, oh, well, why are you not making this type of money then? And I said, because I don't have your type of business. I said, I'm the middleman. I just get a % of what you make. I said, when you look at my production company, doing 400, 500K, I said, I make 18% of that. My gaming company, I make 12% of that. My business coaching, I said, I make the brunt of that, but I said, it's not as much people.
Yeah.
And so I said, that's why I don't make what I make. I said, but I'm a middleman. I said, I'm here to help your business. I didn't come up with your idea. I said, I'm not a crazy idea creator. I'm not reinventing the wheel on anything. Like, I don't have a creation or something new to provide the market. I'm just providing the market what they need and taking a percent of it. And so when I explain it that way, they're like, oh, okay, it makes sense. But, I'm finishing up a contract right now with Toyota. And that alone, we have 3 dealerships that we're doing, and I was coaching their sales team and everything, and adding individually onto their sales team. And I can't really go in because I have an NDA with them even after a year after it expires in November. But even in coaching their team, there's certain tactics that they were using that was outdated. And I said, hey, your people are talking to individuals online in real time. This is 2023. Right. And when you onboard them, you're giving them an outdated script. So how do you think you're going to make 2023 sales if you're giving them a pitch from like 2013? Not even, it was from like 1990 something. I was like, yo, this doesn't sound like how people talk today. So we went in there, we changed some of that stuff and we changed some other things, and they started doing more a month. I can't say how much, but they started doing more a month. Yeah. And just from those people that were targeting on the website, and they were like, oh, this is crazy. And then, just meeting other people along the way, some local businesses, and each business that I have, a lot of them are in different industries that I've never been in. And that's the point of inflection where a lot of people get skeptical because they're like, well, if you've never done real estate or if you've never done this, then how are you going to help me grow this? And I say, because I'm focused on the money, not the business. I said, the money principles never change. I said, I can get a business to 6 figures because I've done that. I can get a business to 250. I've done that. I can get a business to 500. I've done that. I said, past that, you can absolutely call me out. I haven't passed that in one business yet. Yeah. But up until there, I got you. Yeah. And so they said, okay, cool. And so, Jeff and Dre, shout out to Jeff and Dre. We just brought them on. And just them alone, they're doing like a little over 100 in their business per month with land flipping. Okay. And it's only been 2 months with them. We've added like 60 plus students to it already. We've changed their whole interface, changed the website, changed all of that. And they're like, bro, we've paid other people for stuff like this, and it's never been done this quick, and it's never been explained in this type of way. And so, I've gotten really good at just creating a process. And so for me, it feels almost second nature, especially when it's getting them the basics, because all of that is on autopilot now. I literally have notebooks that I've written it all down, and I'm just like, I just open a notebook and read if I forget, which I really don't, but I can just read it and then just apply it. And no matter what business I go into, it's usually all the same. And so I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm getting free money from people sometimes. It's just about getting it. What
would be like, because it's almost like business consulting, but with a therapy twist, right?
Yeah, and so that's why it's coaching, because if you think of your coach like on a football team or something, like it's they teach you morals. They teach you a code of ethic, you know what I'm saying? And so I teach them how to genuinely do good business. Yeah. Because I don't do bad business in my stuff. There's nobody on this earth in business that can say, oh, Moneybag Rich ripped me off or did this or did that. I've never scammed anybody. I've never stole from anybody. I've never done nothing. There's times I've given people money back even after I provided value, just for the fact of, leave me alone. If you want $100 back or $500 back, go ahead, take it. You broke. You probably need it. You know what I'm saying?
And so worth it at that point.
Yeah. So, but I've never had that bad interaction. And my goal in even scaling businesses to this level was for 2 reasons. Was to prove people wrong, especially my mom. Why we stopped talking in 2018 was because I told her I was hyped. And we always had that rocky relationship, especially after she kicked me out and everything. And I found myself trying to prove something to her. And when I joined the military, like, she randomly showed up at my graduation. I wasn't expecting her. And all those pictures, bro, look awkward. If I'm going to show you them, they look awkward because I wasn't expecting her. And I still didn't even leave with her. I left with somebody else in his family to go home. And so that kind of threw me off. But the fact that she showed up, you know, as a young guy, I was like, I don't know how to interpret that. Like, I guess she still showed up. Like, I guess it is my mom. Like, I could just forgive her. And so now that I'm making like a base amount, which is really not that much in the Marine Corps, you know, let me see if I can help out. You know what I'm saying? Because my stepfather was the only one that worked, and she just stayed home, took care of the kids, and like did her little arts and craft thing. But I started paying her phone bill, started paying some other stuff. And I found out, you know, along the way, like, I'm the child. You kicked me out. Like, how I'm trying to take care of you on something that you kicked me out, and you never really tried to understand that about me. Like, you just said, oh, I'm bad, and that's it. And then I come back and I'm trying to do this for you, and I still let that go. Then I joined my first network marketing thing, and I tried to sell her some products, and she still ain't support me.
Oh, it's that.
And so I wrote that off, and I said, all right, cool. Well, you know, it is what it is. But what had hurt me and stopped me from officially talking to her was ROV. Because I was hyped. I was like, yo, we got this dude camera. Like, I know how much they make. I'm going to start my first actual business, because I had already invested money, mind you, when I came out the Marine Corps, in a gaming company with these 2 kids. That's another story. But it was a $20,000 investment, and per month now I get about $5-6 grand kickback from that. But I wasn't making money at the time. I had just did that. It was fresh. And so I wasn't making no money really. And I had met Dan, and we did this deal, and I ran to her, called her that night, September 17th, 2018. I remember it. And she was like, what do you think you're going to get? You think you're going to end up on TV? You think you're going to end up with celebrities, magazines? And she laughed like hard, like super hard. And I was hurt, because I was like, yeah, like, why not? Why I can't get that? And I don't even know if she answered that question or whatnot, but just all that could just sit in my head was her laughing in my face about it. And I hung up, and that was the last time I talked to her. But, you know, I even gave her the point, and I wanted her to call me back, and she never did. She, you know, I never blocked her, never sent no text messages, no nothing, and she never reached out either. And so I was like, damn, she really didn't care about the relationship either.
Wow.
And so, you know, I made it a point. I said, I want to get to a level in my life where I get on stage, and my first really big crowd, I said, hey, I'm going to need y'all crowd participation for this. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm going to call my mom. You know, and I've waited for that moment, and I feel like it's coming up soon. I said, when I call my mom, I'm going to put her on speakerphone, and I'm going to say, Ma, I made it regardless of what you said, and I really did it. But I forgive you, because I know that you was just projecting your life on me. And I'm going to hang up.
Yeah.
And I know the crowd is going to go crazy. It's going to be a viral moment, because that's going to be the first time I talked to my mom since 2018. And so I don't know when that day is, but I do know that's why I've been going so hard. That's one of my really driving force factors. And it may or may not be a good reason, but just off the fact that that whole side of my family didn't really care if I won or if I wanted to win. They only saw me as hoodlum, going to jail, or doing this or doing that. And I changed my whole entire life. You know, none of them know me as an adult. You know, the things that I went through, I went on deployment. You know, I read books on there, and that's how I changed my whole mindset. 42 books on deployment, while everybody else was buying beer in the beer tent, you know, planning to get cars when they came back, and, you know, going out and doing the massage thing and going to the little, all of that. I said, nah, I'm gonna just stack this bread. I'm reading these books right now, because before I got into the military, I was homeless. And so I can't go back out and be the same way. I said, I ain't learned no skills. I said, I'm a combat MOS. I'm a tank crewman. We blow stuff up and shoot people. Yeah. I can't go in the real and do that. And so I said, I got to read these books. And on that deployment, I read 42 books. Wow. And I got out and made it start working. I never had a job since.
How does that, like, I didn't even know that. Like, so I'm getting some layers off this onion, right? So tell me about, like, that lowest point for you to, like, now you can look back and be like, you know, it wasn't all for nothing.
That the lowest point for me actually came after I gave them the bread, because how I ended up in Florida is my last, you know, like, couple months in the Marine Corps. We finished the deployment and everything, and, you know, they're getting ready to EAS us, which is end of active service, and basically say, hey, you're going back into the real world. And I was scared, because I had read these books, But that's all I did was read the books. I was still in the military when I finished reading the books, and so I was like, I can't really do nothing. Like, I still gotta, schedule or whatever. And so I was talking to this girl, and we started dating, and she lived in Florida, and she had a really good job in like healthcare. Armenian chick, bougie as hell, looked like a Kim K. And so she was like, yo, you can come stay with me until you figure out what you want to do. And so in my head, I was like, I know if I go back to New York, the last time I was there, I was really on the streets. I was homeless and have anything to do. If I go back there, I might get caught up with my same friends and everything. Like, while I was out there, I was wild, and I got shot. I got stabbed. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so I was like, I don't want to go back to that type of lifestyle. And so I came to Florida. That was started my life in Florida, 2016. And with her, moving in with her, I felt like I was always at her call and beckon, because she was a really good girl, but my head was just jacked up. I just finished dealing with the military. I'm back in a situation of life where the last time I was out here, I was homeless. Yeah. And so I didn't know how to interpret society. And I low-key had PTSD. And so I was getting angry at everything. And I'm like, and she just wanted to go on dates because she had a really good job. She wanted to go on dates all the time. She wanted to do the bougie stuff. She wanted to fly here, fly there. And I'm like, yo, I gotta solidify something. And so the guys that I was playing the game with, that's how I gave them the bread. I was playing a game called League of Legends. And at the time, they were young, underage, about like 16 years old. And I was already playing with them, but we didn't really talk like that. But we was in the Discord, and we joined it, and we just teamed up and played anyway. And they were talking about this website they wanted to make. And they were like, yeah, we got this and that, we do this. And I was just asking little questions here and there, like, oh, yeah, you want to do that? It's like, how much would that cost? And they was like, oh, it wouldn't really cost that much because we know how to code, we know how to do HTML. Like, these are nerds. You know what I'm saying? And I said, I'll give you the money. And they stopped talking. And like, what do you mean you give us the money? I said, I'll give you the money. They asked for $18,000. I said, I'll give you the money. I have it. I left with about $25K from the Marine Corps. So to me, I was like, this is all my bread, but they got a really good idea. And so their parents got involved because they were 16, they were underage, and they got a better attorney than me. And pretty much that attorney, because after I gave them all the bread, that was pretty much it. And so I was like, okay, well, and so he worked out. I worked out for 15%, but they worked in the taxes to me and everything. And then they put a 10-year limit on it. And they said, so that knocked me down to about like 9%. And so I said, it's still cool, whatever. I believe in it. I made that 20K back by like the beginning of 2018, but it was a slow trickle. But I said, okay, this could be something. You know what I mean? And me and my ambition at that time, I started sending it to a lady that used to take me in and was taking care of me, because I was like, I said I would always give back if I could. And so for me, not having a mother figure, somebody that took me in and took care of me, I got a lot of other mother figures now. There's about like 7 people that I call Ma. And her in specific, she just really changed my life in the perspective of, she didn't yell at me when I did stupid stuff, and she really just checked in on me. She sent me letters. She sent me all of this type of stuff. And so I said, you know what? I don't know how much money this is going to make, but I'm going to give that to her. And so I called the bank. They made an allotment because I know she was struggling. And I sent that money to her. And then she called me one day. This is during the 2019 time and everything. She's like, why you send me so much money? I was like, what are you talking about? I ain't sending you nothing. And that's when I realized that the company had kicked back about $5,000. And I was like, wow. And so in my head, I'm like, damn, she done got this bread. And I wanted to take it back, but I didn't. Yeah. And so I left it, but that drove me more. And just to go back to my lowest point that you asked, and before that was during the buildup of that, I gave them my bread. My fiance, that's what she turned into, was spazzing on me. This is about like mid 2017. And she wanted me to get a real job because she said I didn't feel secure or whatever. And so I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm not doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a creative, I'm playing the gaming industry. I was Twitch streaming at the time. I got my little partnership. And so I was making a little money. And it wasn't what she wanted though, because she was making over 6 figures already.
Yeah.
And so she was like, you can't do this for me. You can't take this on me. Like I need you to get this or whatever. I need a man in my life, whatever, blah, blah. And it was just all adding up. And then my grandmother died. And that was the only person on my mom's side of the family that actually really cared about me. And I mentally snapped. And then me mentally snapping, I started drinking heavy. And I had a Navy Fed credit card at the time, about $54K. Ran it all up. Wasn't paying it, wasn't doing nothing. Went to the strip club, Cheetah's favorite spot. Went there. Everybody sitting at the bar said, drink on me. This and that. And I was really mentally going through it and everything. Then they took me to court. Once we went to court, it was like, oh, you have PTSD, they want, they're going to clear it for you, but you have to admit that you have PTSD and all of this type of stuff. I said, all right, cool, whatever. And they did. They cleared the entire debt. But in that, I was still mentally messed up. Right. And so a month and a half later, I ran it all up again. And then they said, oh, you want to play that game? You did it out of spite. And I had gotten into a bar fight from being super drunk. And I smashed a bottle on dude's face and everything. And they caught wind of that in the report. And they brought it up. And they said, so now you can either go to the psych ward for a month or you can go to jail. And we finna make you file for a chapter of bankruptcy because we know you can't pay this. And so I went to the psych ward for a month, man.
Wow.
And then being in the psych ward for a month, when you're around actually kind of crazy people, it kind of makes you even more crazy, bro. And I'm just there like, dog, like, how did my life end up like this, bro? Wow. And I got out. When I got out, Shorty was like, hey, I'm leaving. I'm out the door.
Wow.
There's like 2-3 months left on the rent. You figure it out. And she dipped.
Wow. So when you look at like your successes, it's a lot of people driving you to prove a point.
Yeah, and that's why I go so hard, man. I sleep like 3-4 hours a day still to this point because I had made a vow to myself at that point when I really started doing the college stuff and I met Dan and everything. And I said, yo, I'm physically going to start something for myself and I'm going to do it. I said, hey, I gave high school 4 years. I gave the military the same amount of time. I gave, college about 2.5, 3 almost. And I said, you know what? If I could give all of that, I'd give 10 years to my business straight up, just 10 years, pure, and see where I make it. I said, but I'm going to be hard driven. I'm going to be focused. I'm going to be whatever. And all the females that I met along that way, the first thing that I said to them, I said, hey, if we're going to get into a relationship, you have to know my business comes first right now. And I tell all of them that. And they said, okay. Of course, 3 of them ain't make it. But but hey, I was so driven on my business that I started to become a machine. And I started to lose my emotional attachment to people and stuff. And I had dealt with a lot of people dying already in my life and everything. And so I just wasn't emotionally attached. And so me, 1, being from New York, 2, being in the Marine Corps, 3, being emotionally detached, I just had no filter. And I would say certain things and it would just hurt people. You know what I'm saying? And so, it was my ex that I was in a relationship for 3 years that really started making me like humanize myself more so. And I had already started, I added her to the company for ROV and everything. And she was doing really well. She had lost her job due to the pandemic or whatever. And I had taught her how to use the cameras to do photography and videography. And she was making 5-6 a month.
Far.
Yeah. And so I was like, yo, we the dynamic duo, this and that. But that's not what she really wanted to do. And so a disconnect started, happening even within that. And she ended up stopping the videography and doing her own thing and, going back to a regular job. And in my head, I was like, they don't even pay you as much as this. Like, you could really be taking this to a whole nother level. But what I was missing out on also from that was with my discipline and what I was focused on, I wasn't giving her enough personal stuff. And so I never went on vacation. Even till now, like my first vacation was this year.
Yeah.
And this is after my business has done made millions already. And I was like, I don't deserve to go on vacation yet. I'm not done. Like I don't feel worthy of going on vacation and stuff. And so she wanted to travel. She wanted to do this. She wanted to do that. And I just didn't. And so we just started growing apart from each other even more until eventually we broke up. And then it was towards the end of that breakup where I really started to see like, man, I don't take care of myself, because she was yelling at me at one point because she was like, you don't even know how to change your shower curtains. Like, I genuinely didn't know how to change my shower curtains. Like, my personal life, I had always eaten out. I never cooked. My kitchen got cobwebs, all of that. Like,
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like, my personal aspect, because I was so focused on being a machine, I had a cleaner lady. I had, I eat out every day. Like, I wasn't changing the shower curtains and stuff. Like, there would be like dust on the floor and I would just let it be there. And I'm not a messy person, but just the little nuances of it, like,
Wasn't important
to me. And so she'd be like, you got to do this. You got to take care of yourself. Like, my drawers was literally black tee, white tee.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't care about like big brands. I still don't, whatever and everything like that. I didn't have the chains yet. I didn't have no watches yet, no nothing, and that's how I lived my life. And she just wasn't with that. She was more so the bougie type. She wanted to get the stuff, and she wanted to be out, and she wanted to go travel, and she wanted to go do this and that. And I didn't. And so, but I still realized that I got to work on that part of myself just as a human being. And so toward the end of our relationship, I started getting a book. I got the 5 love languages and started really reading that and, just processing that myself to where I really started to just heal. Because I said, okay, cool. If I'm going to take the business mindset coach stuff serious, like I got to be able to understand other people's emotions. Right. But if I don't have emotions, I can't do that. And so I developed a pattern for myself along there where there's 4 systems to mindset. You have your emotional, your mental, your physical, and then your financial. And I was like, why can't I make more money? And I realized because I wasn't emotionally attached to a lot of things. And so once I really started connecting my emotional, my mental was always there because everybody that told me no was driving me. Right. And my physical, I still was really doing my thing from the Marine Corps. And so I wasn't really that plump yet. I'm a little plump now, but I still had a good build. And so, once it was the emotional for me, once I really started to connect those dots, an extra like 40, 50K a month just came onto my business. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is good.
That's dope.
This is good. So, I just started processing from there. And, now I'm in a relationship with a shorty who now I only, understand her, but she understands me the same way. And she's the first one. Trip. She's the first one to take me on vacation.
Shout out to you. What's her name?
Marcella.
Shout out to you for getting this boy on a flight, feet in the sand. You went to Mexico, right?
Yeah.
His first vacation in over 30 years.
First vacation in over 30 years.
Crazy.
But
so this platform is, I would say people, if they not entrepreneurs, they got like something they brewing, right? They probably tired of their job, talking about their boss, like hate this job, but they still go every day. What's one piece of advice you could give to that person? Because these are the type of people that's watching this platform. Like, how can I get this 5 to 9 to replace this 9 to 5? Like, what's one piece of advice you could leave us with?
It may not be the best piece of advice, and it's super rash, but it can go both ways. I call it the two-face method. If you have control, stay at your 9 to 5 and don't sleep. Make your 5 to 9 or 5 to 5. You know what I'm saying? Like, go even harder. Like, that 4-hour slot's not enough to work on your side business if you want it to take over. And, if you do have control, quit. Because a lot of people get stuck in their job and they don't want to quit when they know they have something and it's fully scalable. And so it ends up them not spending enough time. And, that's why I don't like the word believe. I told, if you look at the definition of the believe, it's a maybe. And so when you believe in something, you're not 100% sure it'll happen. I'm like, do you know that you will do good in business? They're like, yeah, I know I could do this and whatever. So then why you ain't quit yet? And so it comes down to a mental standpoint of it. Like, if you know you have the knowledge or the skill set or the talent or whatever, you got to take a leap of faith. When you look at celebrities or top business owners, that's the first thing that they do was take that leap of faith. Yeah. And so if they're a person with control, then you got to let go of that because you have that control. If you don't have control, keep that and just work extremely hard.
Right. Man, Rich, I appreciate you, man. Y'all been tuned in to another episode of the Everyday Game Changers. This episode definitely went in a direction I didn't think it was going to go in, but we got some layers off Moneybag Rich, man. I appreciate you, man. Always. Definitely. Y'all stay tuned, man.